The crowd froze as Bruce Lee staggered backward, blood dripping slowly from the corner of his lip onto the stone courtyard below. The sound echoed louder than it should have. A single drop. Then another. 10 so-called martial arts masters stood in a perfect circle around him. Men from different schools, different nations, each one trained to break bones, stop hearts, and end fights without mercy. Their uniforms were clean. Their eyes were not. Each smile carried hunger, not honor. "This is the legend," one of them scoffed, cracking his knuckles. "The man the world fears." Another spat on the ground. "Bruce Lee ends today." The crowd surrounding the courtyard held its breath. Students, elders, fighters who had traveled miles just to witness history. No one spoke. No one moved. Even the wind seemed to hesitate. Bruce straightened his posture, wiping the blood from his mouth with the back of his hand. His chest rose and fell, not from fear, but from calculation. His eyes moved calmly from one opponent to the next, reading angles, weight shifts, intent. 10 against 1. Not impossible, but close. One master stepped forward, his stance wide, killing intent sharp enough to feel in the air. The signal was unspoken. The strike was inevitable. Just as the first foot lifted from the ground, a voice cut through the tension. "Stop." It wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. But it was clear. Every head turned. From the edge of the courtyard, a 7-year-old boy stepped forward. Barefoot. Simple clothes. No fear. His steps were light, yet deliberate, like he knew exactly where the ground would meet his feet before it happened. His face was calm, almost curious, and his eyes were wrong for a child. Too focused. Too sharp. Like blades hidden behind glass. Laughter rippled through the crowd. "Whose kid is this? Get him out of here. Does he know where he is?" The masters smirked. Bruce Lee didn't. Bruce's gaze locked onto the child, and something deep in his instincts stirred, the same feeling he got right before a fight turned deadly. The boy stopped between Bruce and the circle of masters. He looked up at Bruce once, then at the men surrounding them. "This fight," the boy said softly, "is already over." Silence fell again. And in that moment, before a single blow was thrown, martial arts history shifted forever. The fight had started as a so-called friendly challenge. That was the word they used, friendly. A gathering of masters, elders, and students from different martial arts schools, all invited to witness Bruce Lee demonstrate his philosophy. Speed without tension, power without effort, truth without tradition. Bruce had accepted calmly. He always did. He stood alone in the courtyard earlier that morning, explaining that real combat was not about styles or titles, but about freedom, freedom of movement, freedom of mind. Some nodded in admiration. Others listened in silence. And some burned with jealousy. They had trained their entire lives to be called masters. Bruce had questioned everything they believed, and became a legend doing it. Respect, that day, was fragile. It broke when one master stepped forward and bowed, smiling politely. "Let us test your ideas," he said. "Not against one man, but against many." The crowd murmured. Bruce hesitated for only a breath. "Very well," he replied. The bow that followed was shallow. The attack that came next was not. They moved together, 10 men closing in from all sides, ignoring honor, ignoring formality, ignoring the unspoken rules that once defined martial arts. This was no demonstration anymore. This was punishment. Bruce reacted instantly. His body became motion. Elbows snapped. Feet blurred. Hands struck and vanished like lightning. One man went down clutching his ribs. Another spun away, breathless. The crowd gasped as Bruce flowed through them, intercepting strikes, redirecting force, adapting in real time. For moments it looked like art. Then reality caught up. 10 against 1 was never fair. A blow slipped through. Then another. Bruce blocked most of them, but even he couldn't stop everything. A fist clipped his jaw. A kick slammed into his side. The rhythm broke. Blood touched stone. That was when the laughter began. Not from the crowd, from the masters. "Look at him slow down. So much for philosophy." Bruce steadied himself, breathing controlled, eyes alert. He was hurt, but not broken. Still, something felt wrong, not in his body, but in the air. And then, footsteps. Soft. There. A small figure moved beside him. A child. The boy stood there as if he belonged, not hiding, not trembling, not confused. Just present. Calm. Balanced. One master scoffed loudly. Whose child is this? Another waved his hand dismissively. Take him away. This isn't a playground. The boy didn't move. He looked directly at the man closest to him. Your stance is wrong, the boy said quietly. Your weight is too far forward. Your balance is broken. The courtyard erupted in laughter. A child, correcting a master? Someone in the crowd shook their head. Poor kid doesn't know what he's saying. The master sneered. Go home before you get hurt. The boy didn't blink. Bruce Lee slowly turned his head. He studied the child, not as a fighter, but as a martial artist. He noticed the boy's feet, perfectly aligned. His posture, relaxed but ready. His breathing, steady. No wasted movement. Bruce felt something tighten in his chest. Before we continue, comment where you're watching from. And if you believe true skill has no age, tap like and stay with this story. The laughter faded. The masters noticed Bruce's expression change. And for the first time since the fight began, Bruce Lee wasn't looking at his enemies. He was looking at the boy. The courtyard erupted. You dare insult us, brat? One of the masters shouted, his face twisting with rage. Laughter turned sharp. Pride turned poisonous. Before anyone could stop him, the master lunged forward, not to kill, not even to truly fight, but to scare the child. To remind everyone who held power. The boy moved. Not fast. Perfect. He stepped half an inch to the side, just enough. His small hand met the attacker's wrist at the exact moment force peaked. A gentle twist followed, guided by timing rather than strength. There was a dull thud. The master slammed into the stone floor, air rushing from his lungs, eyes rolling back as his body went limp. Unconscious. Silence crashed down on the courtyard. Someone dropped a cup. It shattered, the sound echoing far too loudly. No one laughed now. Another master stepped forward, disbelief written across his face. That was luck, he snarled. He attacked, faster this time, with intent. The boy exhaled softly. He didn't retreat. He didn't brace. He entered the strike, slipping inside the arc of the punch. 2 fingers tapped the man's shoulder. A light touch behind the knee. The master's legs gave out. He collapsed as if his strings had been cut. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Then another came. And another. The courtyard exploded into chaos as pride turned into panic. The remaining masters rushed the boy, anger blinding judgment. What followed didn't look like a fight. It looked like water moving through cracks. The boy flowed between them, never meeting force with force. He redirected, deflected, disabled. Fingers pressed into precise points along the neck, the ribs, the arms. Elbows locked. Knees buckled. Breath vanished. One man screamed as his arm went numb. Another fell, gasping, eyes wide with shock. No bones snapped. No blood spilled. Yet bodies kept falling. Bruce Lee stood frozen. His eyes tracked every movement, angles, timing, efficiency. His mind raced faster than his body ever had. These movements, Bruce whispered, barely audible. They're beyond Jeet Kune Do. Bruce had spent his life stripping away the unnecessary, chasing truth in motion. And yet what he was witnessing went even deeper. No style, no hesitation, no ego. Just understanding. The boy didn't waste a single movement. He was always where he needed to be. Never early, never late. Attacks missed him by inches, not because he was fast, but because he wasn't there anymore. Fear crept into the master's eyes. Their confidence shattered. This isn't possible, one muttered, stepping back. He's just a child. The boy turned his head slightly. Age doesn't decide skill, he said calmly. Attachment does. That was when panic truly set in. Two masters charged together, desperation replacing discipline. Their strikes were wild, heavy, angry. The boy sank his weight, shifted his hips, and struck once, a clean, controlled motion. Both men dropped. One clutched his chest, unable to breathe. The other stared at the sky, stunned into silence. The courtyard was no longer loud. It was terrified. Bruce felt a chill crawl up his spine. Not fear, recognition. The recognition of something rare. Something ancient. Something that couldn't be taught in schools or learned from books. This child wasn't performing techniques. He was ending threats. The remaining masters hesitated now, feet unsteady, eyes darting. The circle they once controlled had collapsed inward. Their arrogance drained away, replaced by a single, terrifying thought. We are not in control. One master swallowed hard. Who taught you this? The boy looked at him, not with anger, not with pride. With pity. I learned by watching, he said. By listening. By understanding when not to fight. The man took a step back. Then another. The masters finally understood. Far too late. This was no ordinary child. This was something they were never prepared to face. And the conflict was only just beginning. 5 masters lay motionless on the stone floor. Not dead, but finished. Their bodies were scattered across the courtyard like fallen monuments to pride. Arms twisted at unnatural angles. Chests rising shallowly. Eyes either shut tight or staring blankly at the sky above. The remaining 5 backed away slowly. Their confidence was gone. Their hands trembled. Their breathing was uneven. These were men who had never known fear in combat. Men who had broken opponents twice their size without hesitation. Yet now, every step they took backward felt like survival itself. This isn't real, one whispered. Another swallowed hard, sweat dripping down his temple. Who taught you? He demanded, his voice cracking despite his effort to sound strong. The boy stood still in the center of the courtyard. Bare feet planted evenly. Posture relaxed. Eyes calm. For the first time since arriving, he spoke louder, not to threaten, not to impress, but simply to answer. My grandfather taught emperors, he said. My father taught shadows. A pause. I teach myself. The words hung heavy in the air. Some in the crowd felt chills run through them. Others didn't fully understand, but they felt the weight of truth behind the sentence. One of the remaining masters snapped. No more, he screamed. Pride, fear, and desperation twisted together inside him until reason vanished. He rushed forward with full force, a roar escaping his throat as he committed everything to a single, devastating strike. The boy exhaled once. Just once. Then he moved. 3 strikes. Not flashy. Not loud. Not cruel. One to disrupt balance. One to shut down the nerve. One to end resistance. One breath. One body dropped. The master collapsed mid-motion, his momentum betraying him as he hit the ground hard, sliding to a stop near Bruce's feet. His eyes were open, conscious, but his body refused to respond. The courtyard went silent again. Even the birds had stopped. Bruce Lee felt something he hadn't felt in years. Not excitement. Not fear. Oh. He had faced fighters across the world. Masters, champions, street brawlers, disciplined killers. He had studied movement, broken it down, rebuilt it from truth. But this was beyond technique. This was understanding at its purest form. Bruce stepped forward. Enough, he said firmly. His voice carried authority, not as a celebrity, not as a challenger, but as a martial artist who understood when a fight had already been decided. The boy didn't move. He didn't need to. For a moment, it seemed like the courtyard itself was listening. Then one of the remaining masters laughed nervously. You think this is over? He spat. You think a child humiliates us and walks away? Another tightened his fists, eyes burning with wounded pride. We don't bow to tricks. They moved again, slower now, more cautious, but still driven by ego too wounded to retreat. Bruce raised his hand. Stop, he said sharply. You've already lost. They ignored him. That was when Bruce realized something unsettling. They weren't fighting the boy anymore. They were fighting their own shattered identities. The boy shifted his stance slightly, not aggressive, not defensive. Simply ready. Like a door quietly closing. Bruce glanced at him, searching for hesitation. There was none. Only patience. The masters circled again, but this time the circle felt fragile, broken. Their spacing was wrong. Their timing hesitant. Fear had crept into every movement. Bruce clenched his jaw. This wasn't how martial arts was meant to be. Not like this. Listen to him, Bruce said, louder now. You're only going to hurt yourselves. One master hesitated. Another didn't. He lunged, a final attempt to reclaim pride. The boy turned, intercepting the strike with minimal effort. A shift of weight. A precise redirection. The man stumbled, nearly colliding with one of his own allies. Chaos replaced coordination. Bruce realized then, the turning point had already passed. The moment the first master fell unconscious. The fight had ended. Everything after was denial. The boy looked at the remaining men, his voice calm but unwavering. You came to test philosophy, he said. But you brought ego. The words cut deeper than any strike. Bruce felt the truth of them settle into his bones. The masters froze, caught between attacking and retreating, between pride and survival. And in that suspended moment, Bruce understood something profound. This child wasn't here to fight. He was here to end the fight. And the masters were about to learn that lesson the hard way. The last four masters attacked together. Not in harmony. Not with confidence. But with desperation. Their movements overlapped, clashed, betrayed hesitation. Years of discipline collapsed under the weight of fear as they rushed forward, hoping numbers would save what pride could not. What followed lasted 7 seconds. 7 seconds that felt eternal. 7 seconds that redefined power. The boy didn't brace. He didn't retreat. He stepped into them. The first second, a shift of weight. A shoulder brushed past a strike that should have shattered bone. The attacker felt nothing, until his legs stopped responding. The second, a hand met a forearm, fingers pressing once, precisely. A nerve shut down like a switch flipped in the dark. The arm went useless, hanging heavy and numb. The third second, the boy pivoted, not turning his back, never wasting an angle. A light tap beneath the ribcage stole breath from another master, folding him inward as if air itself had been pulled away. The fourth second, silence broke. A body hit stone. The fifth second, 2 strikes landed so fast they looked like one. Not powerful. Not cruel. Just exact. Knees buckled. Balance vanished. The sixth second, the final master swung wildly, shouting, fear fully exposed. The boy exhaled again, calm, controlled, and redirected the force with emotion so small it was almost invisible. The 7th second, it ended. 4 bodies collapsed. Not broken. Not bleeding. But finished. Nervous systems overwhelmed. Muscles refusing commands. Minds awake inside bodies that would not answer. The courtyard didn't erupt immediately. It froze. Then sound rushed back all at once. Gasps, murmurs, disbelief crashing over itself like waves. People stood on benches. Phones trembled in hands. Some covered their mouths. Others stared, unable to process what they had just witnessed. 7 seconds. 10 masters defeated. The boy stood still. No heavy breathing. No victory pose. No pride. Just stillness. Bruce Lee felt his heart pounding, not from fear, not from injury, but from revelation. His mind replayed every second, every angle, every choice. There was nothing extra. Nothing wasted. Nothing forced. This wasn't domination. This was clarity. If this moment shocked you, comment legend below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Stories like this deserve to be remembered. The crowd didn't notice Bruce at first. They were too busy staring at the child. At the quiet figure who had dismantled everything they believed about strength. Then Bruce stepped forward. Slowly. Deliberately. He stopped in front of the boy. For a long moment, the world held its breath again. Bruce Lee bowed. Not out of ceremony. Not out of defeat. But with sincerity so deep it silenced every whisper. Not as a master. As a student. The boy looked at him, surprised, just for a flicker of a second. "You didn't have to do that," the child said softly. Bruce lifted his head. "Yes," he replied. "I did." Bruce straightened and turned to the courtyard. "Today," he said, his voice steady but changed, "you didn't witness violence." He glanced back at the fallen masters. "You witnessed truth." No one argued. No one could. The masters lay where they had fallen, alive, breathing, humbled. Their defeat wasn't etched in bruises or broken bones, but in something far deeper. Understanding. Bruce looked once more at the boy. "You saved more than my life," he said quietly. "You saved my path." The boy shook his head gently. "I didn't save anything," he replied. "I just showed what was already there." And in that moment, surrounded by silence, humbled egos, and shattered beliefs, Bruce Lee realized something that would stay with him forever. True mastery doesn't announce itself. It arrives, and leaves nothing to prove. Bruce knelt until he was eye level with the child. The stone beneath his knee was cold, but he didn't notice. The noise of the courtyard faded into a distant echo as his full attention settled on the boy standing calmly before him. The same child who, moments ago, had dismantled everything Bruce thought he understood about combat. "You saved my life," Bruce said quietly. His voice carried no drama, no performance, only truth. "But more than that." He paused, searching for the right words. "You showed me a higher truth." The boy blinked. Then he smiled. Not the smile of a victor. Not the smile of someone proud. Just a child again. "Skill is nothing without humility," the boy said softly. The simplicity of the words struck Bruce harder than any blow he had taken that day. He nodded once, slowly, as if accepting something he had been chasing for years without realizing it. Bruce rose to his feet. He turned to face the courtyard, the stunned crowd, the elders, the students, the shattered circle of men who once called themselves masters. "Today," Bruce began, his voice carrying effortlessly, "I learned." The crowd leaned in. He gestured toward the fallen fighters, now slowly being attended to by medics and assistants. "The future of martial arts is not strength," he said. A pause. "It is understanding." Silence followed. Not awkward. Not uncertain. Respectful. Some of the elders lowered their heads. Others exchanged looks of quiet realization. Students who had come seeking power found themselves questioning why they trained at all. Behind Bruce, the boy stood quietly, hands at his sides, as if none of this truly concerned him. The defeated masters were lifted one by one. Some groaned. Some stared blankly at the sky. Others refused to meet anyone's eyes. Their pride had been shattered, not by pain, but by exposure. They had come to prove superiority. They left having proven nothing. Their legacy ended not with applause or honor, but with understanding arriving too late. As they were carried away, Bruce watched them go, not with satisfaction, not with anger. With compassion. "This didn't have to happen," Bruce said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. The boy looked up at him. "It always happens," the child replied, "when people confuse power with worth." Bruce exhaled slowly. He turned back to the boy. "Where did you learn to see like that?" The boy shrugged lightly. "By watching people fail." A faint smile touched Bruce's face. The courtyard slowly began to empty. Conversations were hushed. Laughter was gone. What remained was reflection. Some would leave and forget. Others would leave changed. Bruce knelt once more, not out of formality, but out of respect. "If you ever wish to train," Bruce said carefully, "my door is open." The boy shook his head. "I don't train," he replied. "I observe." Bruce laughed softly, not amused, but enlightened. "Then keep observing," Bruce said. "The world needs that." The boy nodded, then stepped back, blending into the crowd as easily as he had emerged from it. No entourage. No applause. Just absence. Bruce stood alone in the courtyard now, surrounded by the aftermath, scuffed stone, fallen pride, unanswered questions. He felt lighter. For the first time in years, he wasn't chasing mastery. He was chasing understanding. As the last of the defeated masters disappeared from view, Bruce whispered to himself, "This is the path." And somewhere beyond the walls of the courtyard, unseen, unnamed, and already moving forward, the child continued walking, carrying no title. Only truth. Age doesn't define mastery. Titles don't define power. And true strength doesn't announce itself, it arrives silently. As the courtyard finally emptied and the echoes of disbelief faded into memory, Bruce Lee walked away changed forever. Not physically, his body would heal. Not publicly, the world would still see the same legend. But internally, something fundamental had shifted. For years, Bruce had searched for truth through motion. He had broken styles apart, challenged traditions, and rebuilt combat from honesty rather than habit. Yet that day, the clearest lesson had not come from victory or defeat. It had come from humility. The child never asked for recognition, never demanded respect, never explained himself. He simply acted and left. No one recorded his name. No school claimed him. No banner carried his legacy. And yet, everyone present would remember him forever. Not as a prodigy, not as a miracle, but as a reminder. Bruce paused at the edge of the courtyard, feeling the breeze against his face. The same wind that once carried applause now carried silence, thoughtful, heavy, necessary silence. He realized something profound. Power that needs validation is weakness. Skill that demands acknowledgement is insecurity. And ego is the loudest barrier between a fighter and the truth. The masters who fell that day were not defeated by a child. They were defeated by themselves. Their training was real. Their experience was vast. But their attachment to superiority blinded them, and when clarity arrived, it shattered everything they thought they were. The boy had nothing to prove. That was why he was unstoppable. Bruce carried that lesson forward, into every movement, every teaching, every quiet moment of reflection that followed. He spoke less. He listened more. He refined not just technique, but intention. Because mastery, he now understood, is not about how many opponents you can defeat. It's about how little force you need to end a conflict. The world would go on debating styles, arguing over strength, chasing dominance. But somewhere deep within the philosophy of martial arts, a truth now lived, quiet, unclaimed, undeniable. That true skill is born from discipline, not ego. That real power does not humiliate, it resolves. And that wisdom often arrives in forms we least expect. The child vanished into history, unnamed, unrecorded, uncelebrated. Yet his presence lingered. In every pause before a strike. In every choice to step back instead of forward. In every moment where humility outweighed pride. Bruce Lee walked away that day not as a man who had lost, but as a man who had learned. And that made all the difference. If you believe true skill comes from discipline, not ego, type respect in the comments. Subscribe for more legendary stories that honor truth over arrogance. And tell me, where are you watching from? Folded hands fire.